Alright, so here we have a knocking situation going on. I'm gonna say that's the rod, bottom end. So let's check it out. Did a compression check, got 75 psi, roughly. With the auto decomp on the cam, I'd have to check the spec on that. But as far as the noise on the bottom end, I'm thinking it's the bottom end bearing. And a quick check is I'm just putting the piston, rotating it over with the kickstart so that the piston's on its upward stroke, before it pulls it back down. But yeah, when it's on its upward stroke, then I want to try and push down on the piston to see if that bearing, if it just gives with. So I'm trying to check the free play just with an easy check. What I'm trying to do is collect as much data as possible before tearing it down. So that's why I'm checking compression, and I'm not going to worry about leak down because compression seems fine. It's got that auto decomp in there. But checking spark plug, checking the transmission oil right now. Oh, it doesn't look good, but there's no like gold dust, like evidence of bearing going out. So I'm gonna check the engine oil though, and that's gonna be the crank, where the crank's at. So yeah, you can see this one's the transmission. Got some shavings on here. So yeah, this is the clutch side. So it could be friction disc wear. And you can see that the engine oil, crankshaft oil, is still full. So I'll be linking those in the back here. They have some screens on them. This one's the transmission side oil filter. Definitely looks like something's going on in there. I'd rather go towards that than the engine. So I'm gonna pull off the clutch cover side, investigate that. So, as you can see, there's some oil coming out of the crank still. This is your crank lock bolt. Take this washer out, and then you find the top dead center mark on the crank and lock this in to a little dot on the crank. That'll keep your piston from moving, your crank from moving. You can see right through there, that's where we have the drain for the transmission off on the other side. So far, we got some bad news of the water pump gear. All chewed up and mangled here. So there's definitely something that caused that, besides it being just plastic gears, which is ridiculous. Same with the oil pump. It's just mangled, and looks like we got some evidence of what's going on up in here. The other contact gear here, so I think we definitely found something. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna take this clutch off and take the pump off. And still doesn't explain the actual knocking, but more points towards, yeah, the lack of lubrication due to that bearing or the gear, and wiped out a bearing. So still a big chance that it is the crankshaft bearing. Just parts of the gear. Here seized up, so what's over on the other side of here It is not rotating. Alright, now that that's engaged, I'll try and spin it. Okay, spin. Just didn't want to do it by hand. Should spin freely by hand. Still trying to determine what caused this. Fell into that one. That lady's loud out there. But yeah, spins up and then it gets stuck. So it spins freely until a certain point. And then it gets stuck right there. And if that's the same with this, it'll spin it a little bit. You'll get a better angle pick here. Oh yeah, it's definitely stuck. So it spins a little bit. And then it's stuck. So, yep, that's it. So I have to investigate why these oil pump gears are seized. But gotta assume the worst and start tearing the whole thing down, investigating everything now. So it's a full tear down. I just have to determine what all needs to be ordered besides gaskets, bearings, seals, piston, rings, and whatever that knocking is. So crankshaft or what. So the search continues. That's it here. That end just goes right there, and then all the pressure and everything's pumping through, oil in, oil out. So this is the end result on this one. These gears, if you're not, spin inside of that rotor, and this shaft is fixed. So move within that outer rotor, and the tight clearance builds pressure. So this failed. I gotta take off the other side. There is an oil pump bolt with a little ball on it. I don't know if you can see it in there. It's a little check ball with a spring. We'll take this bolt out and see what's in there. Spring and check ball were in there correctly. At the other side of this oil pump, I don't think it's moving. Yeah, it's hard to move. Oh yeah, it's stuck. It'll move like this, but that's it. So yeah, some debris got in here, oil pump. See how that's moving. Oil pump failure, resulting in bearing failure. So now I've gathered all the evidence I can. So now I'm just going to strip her down. blown bottom end bearing. See how when I was trying to push down on the piston, I was trying to get it to move up, and then I was trying to get to feel that little bit of movement. But now that I got it all torn apart, it's 100%. Trying to give you guys a good shot, but you can obviously hear it. Well, there she is. Piston got really scorched right there. The cylinder looks like somebody did a really poor job at trying to hone this thing. There's no cross hatching. It's just like you could see lines going in one direction. Like they weren't moving the hone up and down at all. They were just not moving it up and down. Can't see barely any cross hatching. Complete the disassembly before I just order parts and wait, because I could run into another issue that I didn't foresee, and then that puts me another week out in parts. Continue the complete teardown. Got the cylinder and the crank back from LA Sleeves. This customer has been super patient, and he just wants to get on his bike and enjoy it just like the rest of us. So I'm going to show you the breakdown of what we got here. Unfortunately, there's not a rebuild kit that just you can just order one part number and it just comes with everything. So you got to go in the microfiche and you got to order every bearing and every seal individually. So that's what all this is here, bearings and seals. And then we got the oil pump, everything to do with the oil pump, all the rotary gears on both sides, or the rotary valves, shafts, and then the billet pump gears, because they're made out of plastic, as you might know, and this is the remedy for that. And then here's a cam chain. So it's going to show you part numbers here, and here's the oil water pump kit there. Athena. We got a Tusk gasket kit, and we're doing the forks. This is the full bushings, every full rebuild, not just the oils and dust seals. Doing a rebuild on the carburetor, and we're doing chain and sprockets. 520 chain, got a 46 rear sprocket, 15 counter shaft sprocket. And I'm gonna unbox the cylinder and crank right now. Here we have a perfectly trued and rebuilt crank. Beautiful. And we have our piston back. And then we have our new sleeved cylinder. So for you that don't know about LA Sleeves, they're a great place to send your machining to if you don't have a good machinist around locally. So I this bottom end blew, and they didn't offer. Usually I'll just purchase a full rebuild, just a brand new crank assembly, but in this case we can only get the rod and the bearing with the rod. and so I don't have the ability to true a crank or rebuild a crank. So being able to send it out to LA Sleeves is really convenient for me. It does take a bit because obviously they're getting shipments from all over the country, but they had great customer service, and this is the second time getting stuff back, and it's just been very good work, and I'm very happy with it. The pricing is right, and yeah, just can't go wrong with LA Sleeves. So I definitely would recommend them. So now that we've got everything unboxed here, and going to get out the cases. Here's the bike, by the way. The customer obviously really likes this bike, and this isn't a cheap rebuild. This is doing everything involved, and so got all this stuff down here boxed up. I'm gonna start unboxing and taking out bearings and seals and just getting after it. So let's go. So the only two other wear items that we aren't doing with the engine is the head, which is good, and the clutch, which is good. Besides that, we're rebuilding or replacing everything else. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm just taking some MAP gas, and I'm heating the case up on the outside, and that's expanding the metal away from the seal or the bearing. And then I just got a impact socket that fits, and yeah, just a small little press, hydraulic, Harbor Freight, and does the trick. And then I'm putting my seal or my fresh bearings in the freezer, and so that has the opposite effect, you know. So I'm gonna heat this up when I go to install the new one, and then so that's going to be expanded, and then my new bearing is going to be as shrunk as possible, so it should just fall right in. Might not even need to use the press, just tap it on in. And then for these kind of bearings where you can't go through to the other side and you can't press it out, so it's a blind bearing puller, and this is what it looks like here in a kit. So I'm gonna put a slide hammer on this, and then it'll pull it out. So here's the slide hammer. Then if you also have this section here to go on the case, and then pull it out this way also. Want to make sure that you're oiling all these bearings too. Don't want them to start up, and it takes a minute for the oil to pump around everywhere. So it's best to just oil everything, oil the surface of the seals when you're installing them. Lubrication is our friend. The engine case has ports in it to distribute the oil from the pump into certain areas. Like it's coming up here to go up to the cylinder head. It's going out here to go on the crank. And so we're rebuilding or replacing all the oil pump components. And so we just want to make sure that the actual circuit is clear. That would be a shame just to replace all the oil pump stuff and then for it to just have a failure due to a clogged port, whatnot. So I want to cover up the other holes because right now it's just coming out of this one. And then just give it a shot and make sure that I'm getting all the air is coming out here. You could also take these nipples out. You could also, just for the heck of it, we got these little jet cleaners. You can just put the jet cleaner in there. Make sure it's nice and cleared out. So you can see it there. So I just find all these ports and orifices and clean those out. I just want to point out that the main bearing, you know, it's definitely directional. So it's got no lip on here. You can see right here, this is the lip that these retaining screws and lock plates go onto. So definitely want that one facing up or inwards. And this one was pretty bad. Major notching. So we'll oil it up and gotta put some more oil in my gun here. And when you're doing these screws, definitely want to put some red Loctite on there. And what I want to make sure that my seal is flush. But what I'm doing is I'm using a socket that's slightly bigger than the seal, so that I'm going to pound in the seal, but then it's not going to go in further than flush with the case. And also, when you're installing bearings, you know, some of the stuff is just common sense, or you know, maybe it's just common sense to me because I've been doing it for so long. But I just want to point out that if you bang on the internal side of this bearing, then that's going to completely just destroy the balls. So always make sure, you know, because if I was going to do that, might as well use the old bearings. That's just going to destroy that. So you definitely want to install on the outer race, pressing or tapping on the outer race there. Alright, got the crank in, the transmission. So when I took this apart, I had all these gears zip tied right here so that nothing came apart. So it's an easy install back together. But you can go on the microfiche and just make sure that your thrust washers are in the correct place. There's one on the main shaft in the top here, not on the bottom, and then there's a thrust washer on the bottom of the counter shaft, but not up here. This is actually the internal to this bearing here. See, it goes right there and inside there of this bearing, so it comes together with that. So yeah, that'll be. And then when pressing in the crank, so you can heat up the bearing and have this cold in the freezer, and that helps the clearances. But when you're pressing them in, I put on the nut here on the shaft so you don't goober up the actual shaft. You'd rather goober up a nut if that did happen, but it fell in right and easy. So now we're just going to keep on going here. Alright, so now we're going to do the shift forks, shift drum. So first put in the forks. And they have these little dowels on the ends here that go into the drum. So make sure those are on there. And then this one with the marking B, I had in my notes, just B for bottom. So I'm gonna put them in the slider here. So these are the sliding gears that actually change your gears. And so I'm just gonna put that to the side, or right over the rod's gonna go right into there. But I'm gonna put the shift forks in, and then put the drum in, and then put these in the drum, and then slide my pins in. That's the easiest way to do that. So there we go. This longer one is going to be on this side here. And the main shaft only has one sliding gear. Go. And then put the drum in. So the clutch side is down there, so that's where the mechanism is going, the linkage is going to hook up to the drum. So it goes down like so. Then put those in there. So, and then I'll put the pin in, and there we go. And then put the pin in. Make sure that spring's in there. It should actuate like that. And then this should all spin now. On the bond on the cases here. Just getting the new cam chain on, and the guides, and this guide here, it's got a little O-ring on there that goes into the oil port, and just want to make sure that little O-ring is on there, because this port here, it goes through and it uses this guide to splatter the oil where it needs to be. I just went to go put this guide in. This is the chain side, obviously. So it's going in like there. And I put it in, tightened it up, and it was just really stiff. And I took it back out, and I gotta clean the inside of here. So there's some Loctite or silicone, whatnot. Anyways, this needs to freely move back and forth because the cam chain is pressing, the tensioner is pressing up on here, and so if it's kind of stiff, then that tensioner is not gonna be pressing fully on that cam chain, as well as if this pivoting point was clear, sitting right here. And so as soon as that bolt's tight, I didn't want to, it was kind of tight, and that cam chain could or the tensioner could have trouble tightening up on that cam chain. So just want to get that all clean and clear so that that nut or that bolt is going to be tightening on this collar, and then this guide is free spinning from that collar. Well, obviously missed a lot. It's hard running the whole repair shop. And most days I give myself the slack of I'm only one person, I can only do so much, I'm just going to do the best I can do. And then other times, just beating myself up. That I'm not going fast enough, not getting enough done, and it just gets overwhelming sometimes. And so that's why these videos aren't in full detail. So just take what you can get from it, basically. Here the shifting mechanism is, I always get confused because on these arms, doesn't matter what model, they all have this little notch on the top. I always think that spring is supposed to go into the little notch. It fits perfectly right there, and so it's really deceiving sometimes, because otherwise that notch is just there for no reason. I'm gonna pull it out, but if you're looking at yours, you'll know what I mean. The spring doesn't go, that does not go in the little notch up top. It just sits down on the opposite side there, and you can see there's the other side of the spring. It has a little collar on the back side of the arm, and that's to go in through the spring to the arm so that the spring doesn't collapse, and that this bolt can tighten down fully on the case. So just giving you a visual, basically. If I'm not giving you any details verbally, at least just a picture will help. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to share how much knowledge I know. I'm over that. I'm not trying to prove anything. Simply here just to help somebody try and figure out their bike. But we did go with the billet oil pump gears, and so in the instructions they do say that you're going to feel some notching at first just because it's tight clearances, and it does state that these don't last forever just because they're billet a lot longer than the plastic gears, and you won't have a catastrophe like that. There's all the old oil pump rotaries and shafts. Replaced everything to do with the oil pump system. And so they're supposed to have a little floating there so that it meshes well with all the other gears. But it does have a little bit of notching there that'll wear in time. They give 7,500 miles. These should be replaced again. And I'm just gonna continue going back together and just take what you can from the video. I can't do step by step. FYI, the starter clutch goes on first, at least before the clutch, obviously. But also before you put this oil pump gear and cover on. So it's going to go there. And then there's a timing mark here for your balancer shaft. So you're going to line up that dot. There. There we go. Basically how an engine works on a dirt bike anyway. here's your crankshaft. And so these gears are always spinning. The engine's running, and that crankshaft is spinning. And so that is always contacting the clutch basket. So that basket is also always spinning. And basket contacts the oil pump right back here. Back there you can see this gear right there is contacting the oil pump. So the oil pump's always spinning if the engine's spinning. And then your power is delivered through the clutch plates, because here is your counter shaft. Or here, sorry, this is main shaft. And so the transmission is built up of two shafts. Counter shaft, or sorry, main shaft, and the counter shaft. Counter shaft is right here. It's got a little circlip on this end of the bearing, but here's the other end of the counter shaft where the power output goes to your rear wheel. And so this is free spinning until, that's why you activate your clutch, is off of friction plates, and they spread apart. So you got a rod that comes in here from the clutch slave cylinder, so it's hydraulic, and so that rod, when you put pressure, hydraulic fluid comes in through the slave, puts pressure on a piston, pushes that piston through this rod, spread these clutch packs out so that this outer basket is separate from your counter shaft. So there's another inner basket here. So this is the counter shaft here. So these discs separating, called friction discs, and metal plates. So when those close together, this is basically all fixed, and it'll spin that counter shaft. When that clutch is spread apart, then this is able to free spin without the outer basket spinning. So it's got a little washer up in there. That's why I was making that little bit of grinding noise there. So that's it there. And so just trying to give you the rundown. So here's your Kickstarter. So that's going to contact this gear here, which is going to spin your outer basket and spin your crank and start your engine. So that's going one direction when you spin that. So when you take this off, you can see it here that these gears are spinning without the shaft spinning, because this is contacting that basket that's constantly spinning. So these gears are also constantly spinning, along with your oil pump gears, along with your crank here. And so this is spinning in one direction. And then so we got your electric starter. So electric starter has to go to a torque converter, because little guy needs this little shaft, and the little motor needs to spin this big crank up and down through the cylinder. So it needs a torque converter to amplify its power, and so this spins the torque converter, which spins supposed to spin freely, which it is not spinning. Okay. So this torque converter is got another gear on the inside. You can't see, but there's this outer gear is just to contact the starter here, and then there's another inner gear that contacts this gear here, and then that gear is going to spin your starter clutch, and then that it free spins one direction because it's all, this motor's all spinning all the time. You just have to disengage the power here up to the output shaft, the counter shaft, and yeah. This gear, none of these gears are contacted to the clutch basket. See, this starter clutch here is only going to rotate the crankshaft in one direction. So when that spins, it's going to rotate and be fixed onto the crankshaft. See, it only goes one direction. See, I go one direction and everything spins here. But if you go the other direction, only thing it bypasses this whole section, the whole electric starting circuit there. So that's bypassed when the power is actually going. And so we can have all these things start the motor, but then become free spinning once power is good, once the engine's running. And pull by camshaft, spin this. So, and this is your balancer gear. So it's got a weight on it because there's a lot of force on this crankshaft, and the flywheel has to be weighted. Otherwise, it's gonna just run crazy. It has to be weighted, so it has to be balanced. So this is a balance weight here. Shifting, this contacts forks on the inside of the transmission, and sliding gears to change gears. So, one thing I was just thinking about right now, if your starter is ever stuck and you can't reach to it and pound it, or maybe you think something's going on in the gears here, or the torque converter or the starting gear, you can put your bike in gear, because once this clutch is on, it's contacting this point here, and so remember, it's gonna free spin in one direction, so none of this, see the starter torque converter back there doesn't spin, so that's the running condition there. Say it's not working, and then you want to free it up, free the gears, make sure the gears aren't stuck or anything, and you can actually put the bike in gear this is your counter shaft here, so power output is going to go from your rear wheel through the counter shaft back to the main shaft and spin your bike. And so this is the opposite running order, so it would be in gear going in reverse, and this is what your engine would be doing on the inside. It would be spinning that whole starter circuit here because the starter clutch is directional. It's only, it free spins in one direction, starts in the other. So I just thought that was interesting thing to point out. Anyways, there's a lot to a motor. I just thought I'd give my 2 cents about that, kind of explain a little bit. For those that don't know what's going on in here, maybe you've heard it explained before, and the more times we hear something, the more it clicks. This is how far I take the carburetor. It's good to know that not everything comes in the kit. Obviously it comes with the O-rings and jets. I'm going to put these in the cleaning machine anyway, even though, yeah, it doesn't come with that, but it'll come with those jets. Yeah, it's just a good idea to take everything apart just to make sure that you don't need anything that's not in the kit. Sometimes the plastic threads will break, or the accelerator pump doesn't come in the kit, and so just want to make sure that you got everything that you need here. But this is how far I take it down. I leave the throttle position sensor in, and I don't do the mid body every time unless there's a issue with it leaking. I just normally just leave the mid body alone. That's a separate kit if you do need to do your mid body, and it just starts to get pricey after I put both kits in and my labor, and it's like extra labor to do all that obviously as well. So safety torques in there, and then these little guys there, they'll strip out. New kit comes with new screws because they expect them to strip out, and so extracting can be a pain. So anyways, it turns a $180 job into a $300 job, and so I don't do the mid body if I don't have to. And I just leave. This is your accelerator pump rod there, so you can tune that. Got a little screw on there that you can turn. So yeah, I just leave all this stuff intact, and I'm just gonna throw it in the ultrasonic machine. These things you can pick up pretty cheap on Amazon, different sizes. I like the medium size here. I can fit the carburetor in, no problem. So got it all warmed up, ready to go, and you can see that there's ultrasonic fluid, cleaning fluid that you put in there. So yeah, it's already ready to go. I'll heat it up. So I'm just gonna drop my carb in there. Ooh, it's hot. It's safe for sensors and rubber, everything. So that's what's good about this ultrasonic machine. So I'm just gonna put all that in there. And then usually run it a couple times. So an hour. Take that back. This kit does not come with the jets, so definitely need an ultrasonic cleaner most of the time for jets and the internal circuits on here. So hopefully you got the cleaner there. But this is all that it comes with. Just the float valve, O-rings, and see this, just that O-ring there. And it comes with a fuel mixture screw, adjustable, which is a little easier to get to. It might just put his back in R&D jetting. So I might have a jet kit in here. So you always want to make sure if you are replacing jets that you're not putting it back to stock when it was jetted correctly. Yeah, so we got a 48. 48 seems normal on there. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that that kit does not come with the jets. Got the carb all ready to go back together. Just wanted to point out, I know the owner of this bike is going to be watching this video, so I just want to show him that that's JB Weld right there. So somebody decided that needed some JB Weld. So I'm imagining there might be a little crack under there or something. I don't know. Usually people don't put JB Weld where they don't have a problem. And it's usually a temporary fix, but we'll see how this goes. But keep an eye on that. Maybe it was dripping out of there, and because these O-rings were shot right here. So it's possible that they didn't know that came out and you replaced these O-rings, and they probably just thought it was leaking out of here and put some JB Weld right there. I mean, that's the best case scenario, is they didn't know what they were doing. Worst case, or second case, it's a good repair and it'll last, you know, the life of the carburetor. Or, see, look, oh, yeah, they tightened this thing down too tight. That's a hairline crack right there. Luckily, that isn't a crucial point. But yeah, this carburetor's seen some better days, but it definitely needed to be rebuilt. New gaskets. So it's better off than it was.